There we go. Okay. Okay, now we're going live. We are live. All right, welcome to Worldwide Slot Car Chat on Zoom, number 186. I'm your host, Greg Gow. The gang's all here with Ed and Gaza and Luff and Russ and John and Dewan and Don and Mike and Jim and Phil and Dennis and J-Rod and Garth and other people. Today we're going to start off a little bit different than usual. It's kind of a show and tell, but it's very specific. So one of our regular members asked if we could talk about how we store and / organize slot car parts. Not the cars, but all the parts. Your axles and gears and tires and motors and whatever else. So I went out to my garage and I took some pictures of what I got. So if you guys want to dig around for pictures or the things that you use to show what you use, then you can share those too. So I'll go ahead and start just so that you guys aren't all embarrassed by what you think is embarrassing, and I'll go ahead and share my embarrassment, which is probably fairly typical. It is parts bins.
Okay.
Crazy, huh? So I have 3 of these. I don't even remember when and where I got them. Probably from Fred Meyer or whatever, from the fishing tackle or some random thing. Harbor Freight probably. So these are where basically you have horizontal rows, and some of the dividers can be moved to different places so that you can have longer sections or smaller sections. This is my tire one, so you can see I put a bunch of them in a row for smaller sections, and I'm not very good at organizing, so pretty much anything will be better organized than, basically, if it didn't have a label on the actual thing, I have no idea what it is. So I put UPC things into the bag with the thing it is, or Sharpied on it what it is, and sadly most of this stuff never gets used. So, but I have it and I dig it out when I think I can find something in there that's useful. Here's my motor bin. So there's new motors that have never been used and old motors that got taken out of cars that might never get used, and gears and things that came with, like this is the Fly Racing spares, so I kept them all together, spare pods and gears and whatnot for the Fly Racing cars that I have. Again, not particularly well organized, but sorta. I got some SCX motors in one thing, and I got some Ninco motors in that thing, and I got some NSR motors in that thing. That's organized, isn't it?
Greg, I think you're too hard on yourself. That is organized. Well done.
Yeah, there are levels. It is organized. This was actually the first bin I had, and I like, just when I was buying slotted cars, sometimes they'll have spare bits in like race wings versus shelf wings and stuff like that, and so I just kind of started putting spare parts. Or when we got white kits, they would have parts that I didn't necessarily put on.
You even have a motorcycle rider there.
Yeah. Did you see? Oh yeah, there he is. Yep, that's the second one. So in that BRM racing cycle sidecar kit, you get 2 sidecar guys, one that's leaning out and one that's leaning in, depending on how you want him to appear while he's going around.
I can't speak for the rest of our group, but you get so used to scanning boxes so quickly from going to model car shows and swap meets and stuff. So sorry, I didn't mean to pry, but I couldn't contain myself. I'm sorry.
No, that's well spotted, sir. And yeah, so I got digital chips in here, and guides and springs and braids and screws and whatnot. I also, like many people of my age, have a plethora of prescription pill containers. And one day I got tired of throwing them in the garbage because they're not technically recyclable because they have whatever kind of chemicals in them. So they say you can't recycle them, even though you can. Anyways, so I decided to make use of them and design these nifty little holders for 10 of them. or actually, yeah, 10 of them per side. So this single holder here that you see holds 5 that are just kind of in pockets, and then on the bottom, the caps, which have threads in them, so you can put them in upside down and not have the safety feature screw up into the bottom of that. And then I have another one on the side, and then I decided to put keyholes in the backs of them and make little handles. And because the handle is in the middle and there's a space in the middle, they stack very nicely and they don't fall over very easily, as long as you don't put the heavy things on the top and the light things on the bottom.
Depending on the part and the type of prescription that was in the bottle, you may have created some sort of, mixture that has like a secret sauce that gives you an edge.
Sure. No, I don't have anything that good in my prescription list.
Keep all your tires in there. Hey, that's really nice. That's very, very clever. That is an extremely marketable solution, I would think.
Yeah, I like that.
Although that looks like us.
And I got a whole bin full of extra. I got a whole bin full of extra bottles. If you don't have the right size, I can sell you the print and the bottles included.
Yeah, that could be the way to go, for sure.
But that's me. Does anybody else want to share what they do? Jim, you've got your hand up. Hopefully that's to share what you do.
Yeah, I've got a couple things. Pretty simple, actually, I think. And you may have seen this before. Here we go. I carry a lot of tires to the track, so I'm always looking for a place to put tires. And so I found these plastic boxes, and they work really well. I just modified them. I didn't really modify them. I added a little bit of the little thin foam you get and cut it to shape. Not cut very precisely, as you can see, but it works fine. So I'm not having the rubber tire interact with the plastic and flat spot or anything like that. So I just put them in there. It'll hold 10 sets of tires. I had my Group C Nationals tires in one of these, taking it down there, so it works very well. And the good news is they're cheap and they're easy to find. So you can use them for a variety of things, and they sort of stack. They kind of nest if you want to put 2 or 3 on top of each other. But they're $1.44. I mean, how can you go wrong? So those work really well for me, and they hold 10 sets of tires. So that's my tire carrier. The other thing that I do, Greg had the parts bin, and then I put this is actually HO, but you could use it for anything else. So I put these little tubes that HO tires come in, and they're really small. And so it works really well. And you can see I've got those are 1,000s, 3,000s, 5,000s, and so on. And they fit very nicely in the containers that Greg just showed you. And they're small and they're light and they're cheap. And you don't have to buy tires to get them. You go to Wizard HO, and they sell them, was it 5 to a package for a couple bucks? So for less than 50 cents a piece, these work really well. And I like them better. A lot of people use pill boxes. This is a lot less space than pill boxes. Those little, the ones that you get for daily, they have like 7 days on them, that type of thing.
I got some of those too.
Yeah, so these work really well for me. Just throw 5 or 6 of them for all your spacers, and keeps your spacers separate in size, as well as if you have axle spacers, or if you have 3mm spacers or guide spacers, anything else. So just keeps them separate, makes it a lot easier. So
you put the link for that site?
Wizard HO. If you Google Wizard WZZARD HO slot cars, you'll find it.
Okay.
And as usual, there's stop share. Okay, I got it this time. That's it.
All right, Garth, you had your hand up. Do you want to share your methods?
Yeah. Okay, can you see that?
Yep.
Okay, this is my workbench / slot car area. And what I've got is I've got a variety of stuff, but the one thing I've found, I have a kind of a smaller work area, so all of these see this workbench? This is actually on wheels, and it pushes up underneath there. So I can move this around, and I can move all the other tables and things I have. Everything is mobile, okay? And these were, let's see if we can zoom up on these. These were some old bins that I bought from a hardware store that went out of business. You know, where they have the screw, you know, and these little plates come sliding out, okay? And then I have things like like these first two are tires. I've got some pieces of wood that have dowels on them, and I got all of my tires on there, you know, with the sizes and that. And then I made a bunch of wood boxes that have handles on them. So these slide out, and then those slide out as well, okay? And then I've got some various sundry stuff for smaller stuff. And then over here, we've got, you can see, you know, this is like screws, and let me see if I can zoom up on it a little bit. Screws and gears and chassis parts, and, you know, and then this bin here is just for car parts in particular. Okay, certain like Ferraris and Nissans and Ford GTs and so on and so forth. And the other thing we got here is, for years I used to use those rotary things for tools, caddies, you know, that when it spun around, and you know, I never really liked them, so I ended up doing something myself. I made these blocks out of wood, and each one of these blocks can be pulled out. Okay, so each one has a bunch of different little parts on it, so it can stay as one, or you can pull them out. Okay, let me see if I can go to the next photo here.
I have to say, Garth, that's way too organized, man.
That's super awesome.
Well, yeah, but John, I'm retired, so that's why it's
I mean,
it's
me too, but
I mean, you end up with a lot of parts, you know, and if you don't know, you know, where they are or what they are, you know, it's you know, you can't do it. You know, I can't do it anyway. So
you end up buying them all over again, and then later on, you're like, "Dang it, I had those."
Yeah, you know, and I do agree it is a little too organized, and but I mean, it's been rehashed and rehashed and rehashed. You know, every year I probably do a little bit of something, okay, to it. Okay,
what's in the wood boxes in the background there?
Garth, yeah, can you go back for a sec, Garth? Sorry.
What'd you say?
Can you go back to the previous photo, please?
Yeah.
Now, those wooden boxes on the end, are those printers type boxes?
Those are tool and die maker Gershner boxes. Okay.
Oh, wow. Those are awesome.
Those are, I've had those 50 years.
You must have inherited them because you can't afford them anymore.
Oh, no. I bought every one of them. Okay.
Oh, okay. Because they're not cheap these days.
I started when I was a tool and die maker's apprentice.
The Gershner boxes are real expensive these days.
Oh yeah, and rare nowadays, and they're in like pristine condition. And as I went through my life, I got away from actually being tool and die and got more into engineering. But these boxes have always traveled with me, and now that I'm tired,
you did say 50 years.
50 years is when I.
Okay.
And the first box was I bought 50 years ago, and then the other there's actually 6 boxes there. You don't see one set of them. The other ones came, you know, they came as time went by, in about a 10-year period. It ended up with 6, and if you have 6 of these, you got, I don't know what more tools you need in your life. At least precision tools. And that's just me, you know. So let's see if I can keep going. Here's another shot. These are more or less just shots of the whole thing. There's a shot of the block as it's pulled out. Okay. And over the last couple of years, I've added more holes and bigger holes, and, you know, I keep finding things.
Okay, I got those scissors, Garth. Come on, be honest. That's for your mustache.
Actually,
Yeah, the
actually,
ones with that pair. It's the little pinky hook on it.
I stole those from my wife. I think they're hairdresser shears.
They're hairdressers, yeah.
And she used them to clip her dog. She had a terrier and so, but I mean, I at some point I stole them, and she probably knows I got them, but you know, that I like them a lot for cutting paper and stuff like that. Okay.
But honestly, these clean work surfaces are really starting to worry me a little about the sanity of some of our members. Because man, it's like having a clean car, you know.
You know,
Yeah, what's up with that?
Maybe I can help you a little bit here. See this mat here? This actually is a floor mat. Okay. No, and it's got like a leather texture to it. And it gets all messed up, but you know what? You can clean it. Okay, so I mean, it gets
nice. Yeah.
You know, every once in a while, I think I might have probably cleaned this up a little bit before taking the picture.
Okay.
Well, yeah, but you got to clean all the stuff off at first. I mean, if I had taken a picture of my workbench, like my desk right here, I have to invent new horizontal surfaces to do things on because I'm too lazy to clean up the other horizontal surfaces.
Now, Garth, I have to ask you, and this is also a question for the group. Inevitably, there's a tiny part that bounces off your workbench and goes away somewhere. How do you control? Like, do you do anything to prevent that, or control it, or to deal with it, other than cry like I do?
No, I just reach for another one.
Yeah, it's just homage to the slot car gods.
Curse. I have a solution for that, John. I work on a mouse pad. I just bought an extra mouse pad with that little lip on it, and then I set it on where I'm working, and when it drops, that it stops right there usually.
That's a great idea. Because I tried using yoga mats, and it made it worse. Those things bounced like crazy.
Yeah, make sure you just get one with the lip around the edge of the mouse pad where they sew it around.
I have
keep going, guys.
So I can get going. Oh, here's a shot. This is a good shot. This is see, we got pickups are in here. These are gears, and these are these are the two boxes I keep screws in. And to pay homage to what John said about dropping screws and stuff, I used to do that, but what I did was I made these little cups, these little cardboard cups, just cut out of a piece of cardboard and hot glued together, and I got these little sticks in them, and then they're filled up with screws, so I can take them out of the box if I want. Okay,
that's cool.
You know, and that has worked really well. Okay, and
some nice idea.
Hey, Greg, there's a good idea for you to 3D print something like that for yourself. Yeah. That's a great idea.
That's epic. And the boxes are nothing other than the box's construction is just some of them are made out of very thin plywood. Some of them are made out of masonite. Okay, and usually there's maybe an 1/8 inch plywood bottom to them, and they're all I just cut pieces and epoxied together and painted. There's nothing real fancy about it. And then these are this is where the cars are stored, and there's probably 8 cars in each one of these things as you pull them out.
Those cars, Garth, are they under construction or are they ready to go?
No, these are cars that are running cars for the most part. Okay. And there you go. There you see how this pulls out and stuff. And I really kind of like this, and I wish I could get more of it. Okay, more of these things. And I have seen them on the internet, but I mean, I paid $5 a piece for each one of these. Okay, and I see them on the internet. And people want $40 for one of them, and that's way beyond my thinking on that. Okay, here's more stuff. 3D printed wheels. Greg, there you go. Stock wheels. Okay, that shows the tires. Oh, here we go. Look, here's another good show. Okay, this shows my now I for about 5 or 6 years I had a engineering job where I also had control of an engraving machine, an engravograph, digital, like a CNC engraving machine. So everything you see engraved in my house is something I did on that. Okay, so this is just a piece of engraving stock that has engraved slots in it and the numbers of the wheels, okay, different tire diameters and stuff, and just a bunch of dowels stuck into it. Okay, and there's 3 or 4 of these. This one here up there is just an AutoCAD drawing just glued onto the thing. All right, I think there was one more thing here real quick. I forgot what I said, but anyways, that's my stuff. Okay, so
inspirational.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow.
Yeah.
Actually, I think it's more aspirational, to be honest.
There you go.
Both. All right. Thank you very much for showing that off, Garth. Very, very helpful. All right, Dennis, go ahead.
All right, I'm going to change my camera and then I'm going to take a walk around my garage. It's about the only way I can do this, by picking up my I have a friend who has a business, and he found in the dumpster outside his business some years ago a bunch of cardboard boxes that look like this. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's a nice cardboard box. They were being thrown in the dumpster by one of the companies in the same set of buildings that he is. And so we started hauling them out of the dumpster. They were apparently boxes being used for the control unit of some or other water heating system or HVAC system or something like that. And we collected, between Brian, who owns the shop, and the rest of us, we collected hundreds of these. And so all of my parts, or put it this way, anything that is still in its original package is set up in my garage like this.
Wow. There you go.
So there are all these boxes, right, along a complete shelf, because they fit in so nicely. And so what's here is there'll be NSR parts in one, there'll be slotted parts in two, there'll be Revo slot parts, there'll be 1/34 scale parts, there'll be old chassis, new chassis, there's tires, right, super tires and Indy grips, anything that's still in its package that can be stored by its manufacturer is up here. Plus then a whole bunch of other, like this is old. Down here I have spare parts for vintage chassis and things like that. So most of my parts are in there for when I'm working in my garage. And if you want to know about untidy workshop, here you go, guys.
Yeah.
This is you feel better now, Greg?
I'm still beyond that, but yeah, it makes me feel a little bit better.
Okay.
I think it's pretty organized, Dennis.
This is the result of a day's worth of work on brushless motors and other such things today. For Garth's case, my cars are in here.
Oh yeah.
Right. These are 22-inch square aluminum trays that this friend of mine, Brian, made. And then I made up a framework that fits under my bench where they slide out, right? So you just
those are beautiful, Dennis.
Just pull it out and slide them out. Yeah. He used a 24-inch square piece of aluminum, bent up a 1-inch flange around the edges, so they're 22 inches square. And he's that good at that kind of stuff that every one of these drawers will fit into any one of those slots in any orientation and just slide with the same amount of clearance. They're good to within less than a 32nd of an inch square. They're amazing.
Now, Dennis, sorry to interrupt, but do you put your cars on anything to elevate them so the tires don't get flat spots?
Yeah, you could see below them there. There are strips of black foam that are across there. Let me pick a car up. Sorry, I'm having to hold cameras and geez, that'll make you dizzy. So I just glued some strips of hard foam along the bottom so that the tires are not on the surface.
Yeah, that'd work.
You'll find as I get more and more and more cars, unfortunately, that you get to this kind of point eventually, where you've got to put them on their sides. Otherwise, you just don't have enough space.
Yep.
So that's the cars. Now, when it comes to going racing, I use these. Where are they? Yeah, it's a drawer that's got them in. This is my race box, and I have the problem that I snore quite badly. So my wife buys these little wax earplugs that are made in Germany, and they come in these little yellow top boxes. Just a little plastic box like that, right? And sorry, guys, sorry. Just a little plastic box like that, but they're lovely. They're nice quality. The boxes are nice quality, and so I have stacks and stacks of those. So I have parts and little bits of tools and things that are packed away in those when I go racing. And then, of course, at least one of those things to hold all the bits and pieces. The little circular containers along the back are from JK front wheel containers, where I actually had to, and you probably see one lying there. You can see that there's a seam around the middle of the clear part. I actually had to cut them and reduce the height so that they would fit into the box. So I did a bunch that fitted the box and glued them together, and I've used those for a long time now.
Nice.
So that's me.
Nice. Good stuff.
And then, of course, there's just, underneath everywhere there are large numbers of shoe boxes with, there you go, shoe boxes with parts and bodies. Down the bottom there are bodies. Every one of these things, and I hate to admit it, every one of those things is chocked to the gills with vacuum formed bodies. There is probably somewhere in the region of 500 vacuum formed bodies underneath this bench.
Yep.
All right, and now I'm done.
I think Dennis wins.
No, Dennis doesn't win. I think Garth wins. Some really nice, and Greg, some really nice ideas. I mean, that whole deal with the medication bottles is a great one.
Yeah, they just kept piling up.
Mike Mauer, are you watching this?
Who are you asking about, Garth?
I mean, if Mike Mauer's watching this.
Oh, of course he is.
What was I going to say? For Greg, what we used to do in the old days was use the little 35 millimeter film containers that we used to get, right? And then a piece of foam that was the extra piece when they punched out all the foam tires. So you used to get that piece with all these holes in it. If you could get it from Palmer or whoever was making it, you buy those pieces, and then the film containers pop into those very, very nicely. I think I still have one lying around somewhere that's got a whole stack of film containers in it.
I was going to say, there might be one film container in my entire house, but I know exactly what you're talking about. You couldn't avoid them, 30 years ago.
Yeah, that piece of foam comes from probably nearly 50 years ago, like God's stuff did, but not quite.
Well, all I can say, Dennis, is I'm going to show my wife your workspace, and there's no way I'm showing Garth's.
I'll get you some pictures of mine later, John.
Hey, John, I gotta tell you, my wife thinks I'm the messiest person in the world. So
she hasn't got a clue. And what you were showing us is not how it normally is what you're saying.
Yeah, there might be a little. I might have done a little cleaning before I took the photos.
A little.
All right, Jeremy, you ready to share?
Sure. Let me go to screen share. Mine's very boring, but this in the back right hand over my shoulder, my hardware store, my local big box hardware store always sells these for your shop. But
Yep.
the downfall of this kind of system is like when you pull one of these drawers out and put it somewhere where you're working, if you don't put it back, then you lose that drawer for the next 3 months. So that's been kind of a problem. I got to follow Garth's lead. I should work closer with Garth on that kind of stuff. Then the other thing, this is the one Wayne turned me on to with these little boxes that you get from China that are pill boxes. But this one, I take all of these with me when I go racing. That way I have like a full kit of stuff I need. It's like M2x4 screws or M2x5 screws. I just kind of put them in order. I could probably organize this a little better as well, but that's my chaotic nature.
Aren't those mainly for seed beads, like the beads for people who do the beads?
I don't know. I got some here. I don't know what they're for. I can look it up on AliExpress. The problem with it is that they ship from China, and they're just in a plastic bag, and they get thrown in the mail. So like when this one came to me, the tab things were broken off here. So it doesn't. I'm like, oh, come on. And I don't think I can relay that information. Hey, put a piece of foam on that or something before you ship it, buddy. But anyway, $6, it's a gamble.
Yeah.
I'm going to be working with Garth a little closer to reorganize, I think.
Jeremy, have you 3D printed anything to help you organize anything at all?
No. Come on, John. Come on.
Gonna buy it at the hardware store.
I'm too busy racing. I ain't got time to organize anything.
Have you seen Gridfinity? It's a grid-based modular storage and parts sorting system, and basically it's open source, and so the 3D printing community has just dived in, and there's just a gajillion different modules that you can print and use, and they're all compatible with the Gridfinity base that helps hold them in place. So if you're thinking, ooh, I might want to 3D print some organizing things, look up Gridfinity, and you'll be like,
know that.
Everybody who's got a 3D printer, look up Gridfinity if you want to organize some things. All right, Garth, did you want to share some more stuff?
Yes, I do. I found a photo here that I didn't realize I had. Okay. Can you see that? Okay.
Yep.
Okay, this is an adjunct to the little plastic. This was the first version of the boxes. Okay, they're much more sophisticated now, but these are the little plastic or little cardboard gizmos that I did. Okay, and it's just a shape that is bent up, and they got angles on them, so that shows them with screws on. I think I might have shown this on some. Yeah. See, this got the screws on there, and you pick it up with your finger.
Yep.
And that shows the how they're made. That's the bottom of them, and that's basically the shape. You just cut out a little shape and then glue it onto a piece of cardboard, and you're good to go.
So when you want to just get one screw out of there, are they big enough for your fingertips to get into, or do you use a tweezer
yes
or something?
And no, but you know what? Everything's so small that I usually just use a tweezer. I just pull a tweezer. But if I want to take the box out and sit it down, that's usually what I do. So I'll take the box out and sit it on the table. And that came from spillings. The whole idea, it was I spilled several chunks of screws, and so that was an effort to try to not lose so many expensive screws.
It came from experience.
Okay, yeah, I guess so.
So I just remembered something that I don't know how useful this will be. As it's not useful as organizing, but it's useful as doing the organizing while you're doing the organizing, I guess I could say. So I needed one of these while I was making the kits for my tire truer, and it's basically a pill sorter right? So you dump all your parts into this area, you count off however many you need and push them over to the side, and then you just kind of brush the extra pieces into the trough, right? Then you close the lid on the trough, pour the parts into your container. In my case, a little Ziploc bag that's getting, let's say 30 some odd square nuts, right? And then I either dump the extra square nuts into my hand to then toss back onto the tray, or if I'm done doing the counting and sorting, back into the container that holds them. So if you had a bunch of mixed up nuts and bolts and stuff, you could dump them all into this thing and then just kind of pick out the ones and just kind of pull them over to the side while you're picking out the same size thing, right? And then just brush the extra ones into the trough, close the lid of the trough, dump the ones over, and then continue sorting the random things that's all mixed together. But I found this super useful for counting a specific number of things, just like pills, just like a pharmacist would do with pills. But this is great.
I'm going to get in ahead of John and say that all the mixed up nuts on this wouldn't fit in there.
We are a bunch of mixed up nuts, that is for sure. Anyways, that's
you 3D printed that, Greg, right?
Yes, that was 3D printed. Yeah.
John asked about anything 3D printed. I just printed these out the other day.
Oh man,
nice!
I like that.
These are quite small. I think the files on Thingiverse, and they're just a smaller. These are actually just to put assorted 2 and 3 mil nuts in for another project I'm doing. Yeah, and
cool.
Print them out in any grid you like, as Greg was saying, and.
Oh, you muted yourself.
Those are nice.
Hey,
yeah, Jeremy,
very nice.
That Jeremy.
They take a while, but as I said, it's not for slot car stuff, but it'll certainly be applicable for slot car stuff, and you can make them any size you like. So,
heck, that would look good. That would look good in a Barbie house. That's awesome.
Well, you might laugh, John, but I've actually been asked to do something a lot smaller than that from a granddaughter. So,
hey, John, you can put it right next to the dresser.
Exactly right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
There's definitely a ton of organizing things that can be printed. So, if you have a printer and you haven't already explored the organizational stuff, then you've got some time to waste on that stuff. Alrighty, this has been a great topic.
Greg, did you find that pill dispenser on Thingiverse or?
Yeah, it was the one that I modified was what I showed was a modification of one that I found on Printables. I'll go ahead and drop the link to mine into the chat here. I'd modified it so that it would print with less supports than the original required, a lot of supports, and some other minor modification. So it's a remix of an existing model. But yeah, you can download that for free. All right, Brian, you got something to share?
I do, but it's not. It's regular show and tell. So if somebody else still has some organization stuff.
Before we move on to regular show and tell, does anybody else have any parts organizing they'd like to share? Okay. Russ, did you have something? Russ, go ahead.
Well, yeah, I just had a question. So are you guys organizing your parts by manufacturer or just all ring gears in one, all pins in another, or?
Depends on how many parts they've got.
Oh, and it depends on the type of parts too, right? I mean, screws and nuts and bolts and things like that. An M2 screw is an M2 screw, whether you bought it in an NSR packet or a slotted packet, is generally much the same. However, when you get to something like an axle or gears, you may want to separate those because they're not always cross-compatible. Right? So you may want to keep your NSR gears separate from the slotted gears because they don't fit on each other's axles.
Gotcha.
And same for axles, of course.
Yeah, and the same for axles, of course. Plus, while everything's still in its packet, then it's probably a nice idea to store those by the manufacturer. As much as I think Goss tires look great like that, I don't have that many tires that are not already glued onto rims. If they're not glued onto rims, they're still inside their packets waiting to be glued onto rims. However, that little kind of rack with some 332 or 2mm piano wire as instead of the dowels would be nice to hold the wheels and tires that are already glued and trued.
Yeah.
Yep.
But personally, I think that was a great topic. So thanks, Juan. That was an excellent suggestion. I found that very interesting.
I'm in the middle of doing it in.
Did you get some ideas, Juan?
Yeah, and I've had those pillboxes, but they don't seal. Yeah. If you go over upside down, you have washers and things like that, then it just gets all messed up. So I was trying to get something a little bit better, more secure. But I got a lot of great ideas out of this. So yeah, it's well, great.
And so kind of on that note, if anybody out there has a topic they want us to talk about, even if we've talked about it before, things change, right? New products come to market, are the things that we need to solve a problem change, the problems change. So, whatever it is, if you want us to talk about something, you need answers to something, whatever, put it in the comments of this video, put it in the comments on where I post the links to Zoom chat, wherever. I'll see it I'll see it. So just post it somewhere and I'll see it, and we'll do it at the beginning of a show. So now we're done with that. We've got some time for regular show and tell. So Brian, did you want to put your hand up again, or you don't need to? You can just go ahead and start your show and tell.
Yeah, sorry about that. I still can't get the webcam on my laptop to work, so I had to jump to the phone. So I got a couple of quick things to share. The Ferraris, I showed these last week. I got them finished. Nice. They turned out really nice. They drive really well. The motors are just some FF50s. I bought Chinese FF50s. I bought off of eBay a few years ago. I think I got them for $250 a piece and $5 shipping. They're 18,900 RPM at 12. Things work really well. So the pod's working fine. I actually installed 2mm axle spacers in the front upright, so there's zero slop in the front end anymore. So there's no forward backward movement. And they go quite nice. It's kind of funny. They weigh, this one is the only one I weighed. It weighs 55 grams.
Nice.
So there's really no weight to it. It handles really well. The motor's nice. It's funny though, because when this one deslots, because there is really no weight to it, and what weight is there is strictly down the center. When it deslots, it just goes.
Yep.
And that's it. It just high side. Boop, I'm done. You're done. You got to push it pretty hard to get there, but that's pretty much what it does.
That's a very happy looking little car.
They turned out, yeah, this one's pretty. I bought these as a set years ago. It was a kit, I believe. And this one's got the identical chassis in it. The front wheels on this one are a little big right now. It's just what I have on hand. I'm waiting on some parts. I'll probably I have the 904 Porsche. That one takes some really slim tires, and I've got the Cooper too. You can't fit these kind of wheels under those, but these are fun. My son and I were running these against each other the other night, and they're pretty much equally matched. So they're a lot of fun. I like them. The bodies are, these are some of the first cars I ever bought. So, but it's one of those things where, on these Sebring chassis and stuff, breaking wheels, the cheap plastic wheels. So it ends up sidelined, and then other parts getting stolen and off of it. And so they ended up scrap pieces, but nice bodies. Everything's there. I just don't have the exhaust. I could probably print something there, but very pleased with those.
Are you going to share that file with somewhere, Brian?
Beat me to it.
Oh, fair enough.
No, of course I will. Of course I will.
I've got a heap of MRRCs, and a lot of the guys in the club here, the Sebring chassis are getting so fragile now. We'd like to replace them. So, and that's ideal.
I'll definitely hook you up with this. The only thing is, this is not adjustable wheelbase, so you would have to do
that's not a problem, mate.
Slightly different. You know, that's just a matter of, you know, adding some space to the front end.
Yeah, not a problem at all.
Yeah, I'll be more than happy. I'll just make it a public file on Thingiverse if that works for you.
That's great. Thank you very much. Greatly appreciated.
Very, very nice.
Yeah,
okay,
way to bring those cars back to life, Brian. Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Now, the other thing I wanted to share, and I'm going to start by looking at this, is last week I thought we had a pretty awesome discussion about motor pods. You know, what they are, what they aren't, what they were originally meant for, and what they're not meant for. And you can see on here, this is pretty much standard dimensions on these screw holes and pod setup and everything here. You see there's a lot, you can see I'm using the slotted screws, a lot of room in there. So even though the pod wasn't meant for tuning, obviously we all do it. We run loose screws and everything else, and you get a lot of movement side to side, front to back, and so forth. So after our discussion last week, I wanted to, you know, we talked about you really need control of things. So I got inspired. So this is the same chassis I'm running under some of my other cars. But what I did is the mission here was to minimize slop and make that smooth movement from side to side. You know, a lot of people, you know, like the slotted screws. They've got the smooth shaft near the head and things like that. And it helps, but it's still not always super smooth. So what I did first off is, I went from a 4-point system to a 3-point system. Mm-hmm. To me, that just made sense. Fewer points, fewer chances to snag or rub or bind. So
yeah,
I did that.
3 points is a perfect plane, whereas 4 points can be all askew.
Yeah, and you know, most of the cars, a lot of the newer cars are coming with the 3 points, so it made sense to me. The other thing is that I really tightened up the clearance around the screw holes. Now, there's plenty there. They move perfectly fine. But you can see there's really no, trying not to jiggle this, there's really no front to back play, or very little, and very little side to side play. So that was point one. Point two is, you know, we talked about controlling that side to side movement. So I thought to myself, how can I do that? What can I do here to do this? I know there are cars out there that come with suspensions. They come with springs and screws and nuts, and you know, they run outrigger pods on arms on the pods. But I'm like, I don't have any of that on hand. So what can I do? So what I did is I used piano wire. And what I originally did is I ran the piano wire. It's attached to the chassis here and to the pod here. And what I did when I did that is that was wrong. Because what I did is I fastened it both with set screws. The problem is when I did that, I basically doubled the tension of the rod because now both rods were in play. You follow me? Does that make sense? Because I was moving both rods at the same time. So I went back, and I don't know how well you can see this, but the back now is more of a hook with a set screw on the top. So now, in essence, what I have is I have a sprung suspension from side to side that's independent of each other. So when this side goes down, this other rod on the left side of the car isn't affected. And with the set screws now in the back, the ones in front strictly hold the piano wire in place. The ones in back allow me to add or subtract preload to the spring. And what I did is I set just enough preload on it where it's basically bottoming out the head of the screws in the chassis. So you can see the gap there between the bottom of the pod where the screw mounts and the chassis. So now what I have, well, I don't know how I'm going to do this with two hands. if you look, it just barely,
Yep.
It's there.
Yeah.
And that's not taking a lot to move it. And I can go from side to side. Let's see.
You have to get a holder for your phone so you can do two hands.
Yeah.
But you can really see it from the side here. You can get it focus. You can see that rod flex when I move it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
so there's
nice idea.
There's just a little bit there. So now I have the side to side movement, but it's not that flop, you know, and I have a fair amount of movement in there. I mean, that's a pretty good space on that. And it's now a very smooth, and so it actually will spring back. And I wasn't quite sure if this wire was going to be too heavy, too light. It's 0.67, I believe. Some stuff I bought for what did I buy? Oh, when I was doing the plastic pan chassis. It's a little long because originally, like I said, I had the blocks all the way to the front. But what I found when I disconnected them, so each rod acted independently, as opposed to everything being tied together, it seems just about right. And I just finished this up, probably an hour and a half ago. I got it on the track. And all I can say is preliminarily, wow, it definitely made a difference. And where I notice it the most is I seem to be able to drive the car much harder into a corner than before.
Is that with the body?
No, I haven't put a body on this yet. So, like I said, this is kind of, well, but then again, the body on, I can always add more preload. You can probably see a little bit in there. If you see the rod bent a little bit.
Yeah, it was just like.
What
So
what gauge wire is it?
It's just
piano wire. Yeah, but what gauge?
0.67 or 0.67. I'll have to look up. I got the package. I bought it from Slot Car Corner. 6.2 sound right, Dennis?
0.62, yeah.
Yeah, 0.62. And I thought they make an 0.47, and I think they make an 0.32 as well. Something along there. I always thought I could always go.
And an 0.39 you can find sometimes as well.
Yeah. If I needed to change wire, I can do that. But this is what I had on hand, and it seems to be about right. I think it's about right. Now, I said, adding the body to it, we'll see. My bodies typically, 3D bodies typically run between 15 and 20 grams. This right now, I think weighed 50 grams by itself.
Kind of a torsion bar suspension in a way.
Kind of the idea, yeah. But I think torsion bars tend to twist, though. I was thinking more like
it's a different kind of spring, basically.
A flex. It's a straight spring. It just turns. It happens to be of a circular section.
Yeah, it's not.
That's very nice.
It's captured in a smart way that
super smart,
allows the right kind of movement, but doesn't restrict that.
I like
that gives you an idea of the amount of movement that's there.
Yeah.
But it's if I let go one side, it comes right back to center, and it stays centered in that pod. It doesn't really move side to side, front to back. And I know some guys like that slop. I know Henry, when he did one of my first cars, you guys may have saw a video. He did one of my stilettos. He put it together. When he talked to me about it, he said he modified the pod because it didn't have any front to back movement to it. And I was kind of like, okay, yeah, I didn't really design it to have that. So I know some people prefer that. Again, you can see it's smooth and it's consistent. And so far, I'm pretty happy with it. I mean, normally I get inspired. It's usually a problem. But in this case, again, you can see, trying to show the movement of it, it works. And again, it is fully adjustable.
I think you've done a great job on that, man. That's really a nice idea.
So Dennis, for the uninitiated, when you talk about the numbers related to the piano wire, is that like gauge where a smaller number is a bigger wire? Or
no, those numbers that he was quoting is the diameter in inches. Okay. So 0.62 is 0.0625 inches, which is the 16th of an inch. Then the wire that comes from K&S, who are the people who make most of the piano wire that we all see, they go from, I mean, you can get 1/8 and you can get 3/32, and then as you go down from there, there's an 078, which is very close to 2 millimeters. And then the next one down from 078 is 062, which is a 16th. And then 055, 047, which is 332s. No, 364, excuse me. 047, 039 you can find some places, but not often. 032 you can get lots of, which is 1/32 of an inch. And then 025 and smaller. They go down, I think, to about 10 thousandths or 15 thousandths as the thinnest one.
Yeah.
And that's all the high carbon steel music wire.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to develop any kind of sag quickly. I mean, over time,
Not
it
with
might
that
take
limited amount of movement, no.
Yeah, and that short distance.
Yeah.
So I think it should hold up well. And again, the whole idea was controlled movement, simple.
Yeah.
And I didn't really have anything to go on. I don't have any cars with spring suspension in them, though that may be changing. Because I think I didn't, believe it or not, guys, I blew off going to the slot car show this past weekend. I decided to take advantage. Of some Cyber or Black Friday deals from Electric Dreams and Professor Mo. So I spent a good chunk of change there. I have two of the MR slot car. What are they? The 333 SP Ferraris, the Olive Garden car, and the yellow one. I believe those have spring suspensions in them, don't they?
No, you can't put spring suspensions in them. They don't. Yeah, they don't have it. What the MR slot car pods have is they have two mounting screws, one at the front, one at the rear, down the center of the car, and then two little outriggers to the side, which are generally just controlled by screws, but there are springs that you can put in there instead, or there are little foam bushings that you could put in there. So you can do either a foam suspension or a spring suspension on the side, the outriggers along the side of the pod. It's a triangular pod.
If I'd had any of that on hand, this probably would have been more sophisticated, never got finished. And
I don't know that's not sophisticated already. I think you've done
I tried to keep it pretty simple, and it seemed to work out pretty well. Electric Dreams, on the other hand, I went and got a couple NSR C6 Corvettes coming from them.
Good for you.
They had great prices on those. I think all of the cars I bought were $55 a pop.
That's really good.
Nice.
Avant Slot did a couple of inline their LMP cars had a similar thing to what you're doing there, but instead of using a round piece of piano wire, they used a flat strip of spring steel, and they are the fiddliest and most difficult things to ever get right, because the pieces of spring steel are that thin that they bend, and it's almost impossible to get them the same both sides. It's really it's a difficult thing. What you've done there is so much simpler, so much more elegant. Really nice.
Well, thank you. And like I said, I'll around the track, it seems to be doing really well. Like I said, I seem to be able to hit the corners harder than I was before. Hard to say on the exit because I'm coming in faster, so I'm probably haven't adjusted my driving style to that yet. So the timing's off coming out of the corners a little bit, but overall pretty happy with it. It's been interesting. It was kind of a fun thing to mess with. That's it. That's all I got.
All right.
So Brian, is it possible to make it to a slotted style pod with the 4 outriggers instead of just the center one? Is there enough room there with the pieces installed?
Oh yeah. There's enough there. Because
the reason I ask is because a lot of times the chip for our cars, the slotted chip, will go in between those, and that's the reason that I would prefer to have the 4-point mounting.
Yeah, there's enough there.
But I really would like to give that a try. It would be really interesting.
Well, see,
because I've got spring suspension on most of my cars, and it works a lot better on the bumpy scale extra track.
Yeah. See, my original idea here was I had the front blocks actually tied into the front wheel axle holders. So I had it much further forward. And again, I used set screws and locked it down into the pod. But again, what I ended up finding out is that doubled my spring rate because both springs always moved regardless of what direction. But my original intention was to then use a sliding, like a dog bone, that I could slide rearward to adjust the tension with if I needed to. So basically, lengthening or shortening the rod was my original idea. And then when I decided to uncouple the two sides so they're independent of each other, obviously that really, I guess it would have still worked, but having the separate set screws on each side also allows me to account for, 3D printing is not perfect always. So I can,
it gives you adjustment.
I can accommodate slight variations in height, on something or something, a little cockamamie, if you will. I don't know why it wouldn't work. I don't know how you would attach it to a chassis, though.
Well,
I mean, he wants the whole chassis.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
basically you want the same thing, except instead of one point in the front, have two like slotted, so you can put a chip in the middle.
Yeah, that could be done. Now, I kind of changed the length of the pod a little bit. Well, no, I didn't really. I think I chopped it right at the front. Now, the pod, the basic dimension of the pod, the underside, looking at it, I'm pretty sure is the same size as a standard pod. Lengthwise this way.
Yeah, the front end of the wire
put the two tabs
chassis, Mike. So you have to modify the chassis too.
Yeah. Well, the other possibility is you could make a, I don't know if you've seen the front axle mountings for that Chris Walker showed us from that Scale Racing has. You could have a bolt-on piece like that would retain the wire in it in the same way that you would the front axle. You could be something that it's sort of a T-block system. You could have it with the rod going through it and then adjustable from the top.
Yeah, what I could do is simply print, keep the spacing the same. Those are all individual parts. So I could create the front, a block where it's joined at the bottom that could be glued to the chassis, if that's what you're talking about.
Yeah,
or
glued or
even
screwed,
if you want to drill holes in your chassis, it could probably be screwed as well.
Yeah, what I was thinking of was these pieces right here, like that.
Right.
Only facing the other direction.
Gotcha.
So
I got you.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. That sounds like something that can be continued in a direct conversation, and we'll look forward to that new development. Let's continue with some other show and tell or whatever people have to share. What do you got, Mike? You're the first hand. Sorry. Oh, they got the Orica?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, really nice. The chassis is different on this. I don't know if anybody's seen it yet, but if you notice, let me go grab one of the older.
It is a regular guide.
Oh, it doesn't use the LMP guide?
Doesn't use the LMP guide. I think that's the big difference.
I guess that people don't like the LMP guide.
So
there's enough
this
room
is
for that car to get a regular guide in.
This is the regular chassis out, and with the LMP guide.
Yeah.
And this is the one currently.
Stock guide.
Does it have a taller nose right there under of the guide?
Pardon me?
Is there a taller nose above the guide?
Not really. No, it's actually a lower nose.
But it's wider.
We'll turn the cars over so we can see the actual nose. That's what I'm talking
Well, I was
about. The
going to show
body.
you the difference.
Yeah, it's the
I
whiteness.
think it's a little wider, and
It is a little wider, yeah.
and it's lower in the right at the center. Doesn't have that massive undercut that the Master has.
Yeah.
So at any rate, regardless, it really goes well right out of the box. I haven't even switched the tires yet. I'm planning to do a video on how to build it up. I've done one on the Maseratis already, and I'm going to do one on this one and see what the difference amounts to with changing the tires from the originals. The only thing I did with this is scuff the tires up a little bit and run it and take the magnet out, of course. And Chris, if he's not here, and put the chip in. And then I just put it on the track. And it's pretty respectable. It needs some weight in the front, though. I measured the fore-aft weight distribution. It needs probably about 4 grams in the front to make it optimum for me. But it's a nice car, nice and smooth. I'm pretty amazed that he can offer this for $70 compared to 65 for a Scale Extric. I mean, it's a screaming deal. I mean, you got a long can motor and a pretty sophisticated, well, relatively sophisticated chassis. And they go really, really well. And they're getting better with every iteration. And I'm just impressed that, Slotted has some issues in other areas, but it certainly is, their cars are just getting wonderful. Every iteration is an improvement over the last series. And as I haven't tried it yet, but I hear that the GTR has been improved too. So the Nissan GTR has been lowered and changed.
Mm-hmm.
And the tires the stock tires, the C1 tires, are good on sport tracks.
They're decent. They're not as good as the G25s, but they're decent.
Do your normal true and blue one and throw some oil on those, and they're pretty good. We're running them with the DTM JGTC classic cars right now in the Analog Club, and the spec is stock tires, true and glued, and I'm surprised how well they're running on both sport and wood. So I mean, it's not NSR, but it's pretty good, and it is consistent. Like we have a you can't clean your tires with our club. You can't clean your tires after the race begins. Basically, you do whatever you're going to do, and you put your car in park firm, and then that's it. And the grip lasts much longer than I thought it would. So I'm pretty happy.
Are you doing oiling them with regular NS oil, or what are you using?
Yeah, just NSR oil, whatever light motor oil you got that you normally oil with. I mean, after you glue and true.
Right, after you glue and true.
Yeah, I'm honestly surprised how long the grip holds up without needing to be cleaned and whatever again. So give it a try. You never know. If you're building up another class, maybe let the C1s hang around for a while and see what happens.
Yeah, well, I think what I'll do is I'll probably keep them because I want to do consistent, since I use the G25s all the time on everything else, on all my other LMPs. I want to see how competitive it is with the same setup that I generally do, which in this case is I will use the Scale Auto springs and nuts at the rear, use a different screw in the center, and then glue and true them and weight it 60-40 as much as possible. Essentially, that's what I'll do, and I'm going to see how much of a difference it makes overall on my track, and that way I can do it. Give you an idea of what improvements can be made.
Yep.
So the other thing I've got is, let me see if I can bring up your handiwork. Where am I? Come on. There it is. Photos. There we go. Come on. wake up. Actually, the photo is in
At
here.
least you cleaned your nails today. Your fingernails are nice and clean. Yeah.
Sorry, I kind of have a little picture. I'll show that anyway. Okay, there you can see. This is the measurement difference between the adapters that I've got, using it so it equates to a 2.5 pieces of polycar track, and you can see a little bit of Greg's work there where it fits and how well it fits, and it works really, really well. Clipped together, as you can see, there's only a couple millimeters there, and we reduced that a little bit now, so the next ones we do will be much better in that regard. But that's the 3D printed adapters for polycar to scale extract lane changers, and they push right in to the scale extracts, and they push right into the polycar, and all you have to do is put copper tape on it for the connection, and I have electric current adhesive tape that goes across, so it just basically you have to put it over the top of the other piece of track, and it'll conduct electricity and works fine. So it'll be great. We can adapt scale electrics, lane changers, and power bases to the polycar track now easily, just with a bolt on, or a push on rather, not having to do any adapters and worry about heights and everything. And it's really damn near perfect. It's really, really nice. So kudos to Greg for all the work he's done on that.
Yeah, kudos to Jean from Johnny's Workshop for his original model. All I did was squeeze and stretch some things and put in the slot on the side. But yeah, what you're looking at on the screen, the bottom left corner piece in the bottom left corner is the print, and then above that and next to it you've got polycar track. Yeah, they work real well, and one of the guys in the UK contacted me to get a bunch as well. So, and I shared that. John of Johnny's Workshop shared his file publicly, and I uploaded my modification publicly. So, like Mike was saying, basically with 2 adapters, so 1 adapter at each end of a Scalextric Sport Digital lane changer, straight lane changer, double lane changer, is the same length as 2.5 polycar straights. So you can include them in your polycar layout with forethought by basically, you want to put a lane changer in, design your layout to have 2.5 polycar straights, and then with the prints and a Scalextric lane changer, you can just swap them out.
Well, Greg, how much would 3 pair of those cost?
So to my slot bros, send me a private message, and we'll talk about it. I have slot bro price for that rather than my normal print to order price. So yeah, just send me a message. If you have a printer, then the files are available. They fit on one adapter. Will print on your regular old, Creality Ender 3, Prusa Mark III size printer. So they're not like too big for, your common 3D printer. Okay, Mike, are you done?
Yeah, done.
Okay, moving on. Dennis, you've got your hand up, but your camera's off.
Yeah, because I was waiting for you. Last week I showed you those little brushless motors. This week I have the first one assembled into a 1/24 scale steel stamped a chassis known as a Flexi. This particular one is a Mazzetti. You can see the crazy size of this thing now, because that opening in the back of the chassis is usually absolutely full of motor. Even the small motors that we use these days, like the Falcons or the Eagles or whatever, it's absolutely tiny, this thing. And really it is. So that's done. The little bracket, you could see I put in a 90-degree bend at one end, and I relieved the bracket a little bit so that it fits over the top of the chassis, and then it's soldered onto the back there. It won't focus. Won't focus, but I think you get what I mean.
Yep.
Right in there. And so that's what it is. Now, of course, the motor, the outside of the motor is what turns, as you can see. So you have to keep all the wire out the way, because the wire goes in behind the between the mounting bracket. Between the mounting bracket and the rotating part, it all fits in here. So I just have a little clip. I put some plugs on the end of it, slotted plugs on the front, and a little 3-pin that I made up on the back, because I want to be able to change out the motor or move the control board into a different car at some stage. So it's all ready to go, and I will be testing it tomorrow at Corona Raceway, and so the next time we meet, I'll be able to report back on how that goes, but I'm certainly looking forward to it.
What's
the lighter is that? Sorry, I'll go first. How many? So compared that to the exact same chassis and wheels and stuff as a car with the typical motor, how many grams did you shave off?
I shaved off 12 grams. Because the motors on their own, in fact, maybe a little bit more. The motors are about 28 grams or so, and the board and the motor on this is 12 grams. Most of the wire is, I guess, the same. So yeah, I've shaved about 12 grams off, or 12 or 15 grams off of the car. I haven't weighed the whole car yet, but I can do that and let you know in a couple of minutes.
And compare. So what I'm going to ask is, what was the cost for the conversion?
The motors were $16.50 each, and the board was $42.50, I think. They come from a company. They come from a company in Michigan called KC Racing.
There's been a lot of talk because we run those. Those are those 4-inch chassis, or Dennis, is that a 4-inch chassis?
That's a 4-inch chassis, yeah.
Yeah, okay. We run those for the LMP class.
Yeah, that's what we do too.
Yeah, and I'm wondering how they would compare as far as weight and stuff and cost, because they've switched the Eagle motors. And Eagle motors work pretty well, but they don't last that long. 5 or 6 races and you got another $12. Well, 4 motors and you got the whole setup that'll last for a lot longer.
True. And that's part of the reason that I'm doing it, because you may get 5 or 6 motors out of 5 or 6 races out of an Eagle, but I can guarantee you that race number 5 and 6 are nowhere near race number 1 and 2 in terms of speed. Right?
Yeah.
I almost never run an Eagle as long as 5 or 6. I've run them 4, but after 4, that's done. On our flat track anyway, and with the gearing that we run.
Yeah, anyway. I'd be interested in that bracket.
Okay, I'll do a couple of weight comparisons while we're on the thing, and I'll let you know.
Okay, thanks.
All right, thanks, Dennis. And obviously, we'll hear about how they perform on the track and everything too.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm quite excited. I actually have a couple of other boards and a couple of other motors coming. This is a 4500 kV, so on the 13.6 volts that we run at Piranha, that's about a 60,000 RPM, which is quite high. It may be a little much, but I'll check it and see. But then I have a 6500 as well that I'm going to try in a spring steel chassis. And I've got one of the British boards coming from SBM from Richard Mack and Bob Budge. And then today I ordered a motor and a board from Doslot in Germany, but I ordered a 2000 kV, so it's a real slow one. It's going to be the equivalent on 12 volts of a 2500 RPM motor, because you know where that's going. That's going to go into a 32nd scale car at some stage, just to check it out. So yeah, there's a whole lot of that going on, and I'm having a lot of fun with it.
Yeah. All righty. Thank you, Dennis. And Dewan, what would you like to share?
I had a question first, and then I'll go to the share.
Yep.
I have a couple of slotted cars. This one I picked up from Dennis when he was selling off some cars for one of his soldiers that passed away a couple of years ago, and I never really played with it. And the other car is my normal Group C slotted car, but the motor in this one, I don't know if you can see, it's orange. I'm trying to get it up. It's got an orange end bell.
Yeah.
Whoops.
That's the color they used to be.
Okay, I was going to say, is that illegal for me to run this in my this weekend? And this is my normal car, which is a black end bell.
Mm-hmm.
Are they the same? Consider the same? Anyone know?
I believe so, but I'm sure Dennis or somebody will correct me. But yeah, if they're both Group C, yeah, they're both Group C. So Slotted has tried to keep the RPMs of the motors as close as possible since the beginning, but the end bell colors have changed.
Yeah.
Are you sure that black one's a slotted?
It's a slotted, but it looks to me like the one that came in the DTM cars, which is a 21,000. Was that a new car that you bought, Juan?
No, it's a car I got actually from you when it was that estate sale that you I got a couple years ago.
The pink one.
The pink one is that's stock. That's plain pure stock. I never changed anything on that one. You said that's a DTM motor?
If you pull the body off, you should be able to see either on the end of the motor, the back end of the motor, or the front end of the motor, or on the side of the motor somewhere, a little bit of laser etching that will tell you what the RPM is.
So the only one that was really in question was the orange one. Because this car is so smooth and fast. Oh man, it just outclasses my Nissan. I'd love to. I'm going to show it to the club to make sure before I run it. Anyway, but that was my first question.
Yeah, that looks stock to me.
Yeah.
The black one looks like a Piranha or Predator to me.
Yeah, no, the new man Porsche, it looks like a stock motor.
Yeah, that orange one is. There's like two shades of orange. There's like a dark orange and a bright orange.
Yeah, and there were two shapes of the cans as well. Some of that's one of the later ones with the square ends to the can, and the other ones are a little more
okay,
cool. A little more rounded.
Sounds like I won't be in trouble. Okay, so I'll keep practicing.
Yeah.
All right. And I just the car just dumped on my track, fell off. I just picked it up. That just came in from my corner.
Mini Cooper.
Yeah. So that's my little Mini Cooper that I got to add to my collection, and then I picked up another. And then I picked up another, but bigger C8. That's his 124 scale.
Yep.
So nice. I had the C8s, but I had the opposite colors and the opposite sizes. So now I have a pair of each that match. So And then that was that. And then I also picked up some vintage Vel. Yeah, I got it. It's a mixed match. Nothing is complete, but I have enough to get at least 2 full complete cars with the roll bars and everything. So I'll have, I can put it all together, and they run really nice actually, and they look like they were never used, even though they're just beat up like the braids and the motor and everything, just like it's just looked almost brand new.
Cool.
That's Tupperware.
Yeah. Okay, so that's it.
Good stuff. All right.
I've got the weights if Mike wants to know.
Sure, go ahead.
Mike, it's not a direct copy because the 2 chassis that I've got have different pans. You could see the one that has the brushless motor has the heavy pan, and the one, my regular ones have the slightly lighter pan, and I don't recall how much difference there is, but the brushless motor car, as you saw it there, weighs 70.2, and the brushed motor one weighs 79.48. So there's 9.3 grams difference right there.
The brushless has the heavy pan, right?
And the brushless has a heavy pan, yeah. So I could probably, if I swap them out, if I swap the pan out, I'd probably get rid of another couple of grams. So, maybe my 12 grams or so was about right.
All righty. Thank you, sir. And
you're welcome.
Mr. Yeah, I'll be interested to see how that works.
Yeah, me too.
Because the club, the group that I have is pretty conservative, and the guy that runs the whole track and everything is sort of stuck in his ways about that kind of stuff, and he's got unlimited resources as far as the motors and stuff, so he doesn't care about changing motors every time. But for me, it's like, wait a minute, that's $50 every 4 races for me. It's like, wait a minute, that's time out.
Yeah. So the brushless revolution is coming. All right, Don, what would you like to share?
Well, it's been a while since I've shared anything, and I've picked up a few interesting little items from here and there. And of course, these I keep getting just to aggravate Mike with, but I picked this car up in a group lot that I made an offer on, and the guy accepted it. And that also included one of these, which for the most part is absolutely worthless on our today's slot car tracks, but it's still a nifty, cool little car if people know which and what this is. I was thinking I might. What's that?
Pretty sure it's AC Gilbert.
Oh, that's exactly what it is.
Rector set.
I was thinking I might be able to solder something on to the pickups to where it would work on today's slot car track, but I'm not really sure I'm going to bother to do it. I mean, this car it's in perfect condition, and it does run quite well. And it is hard to find these in really good condition.
I think because they may have had difficulty going around a track.
That could be it. And then this one.
Oh yeah, that's a great car.
Well, this one was just the body purchase itself, but it was brand spanking new, still in the bag, never been opened. And of course, it's got this wonderful black plastic chassis on it, and it runs quite well. these chassis, as far as the Strombeckers go, are, I think, much superior to those. But I guess that's a matter of opinion, so whatever you all think.
I always like the little blue push buttons because it obviously couldn't trust kids with screwdrivers.
Yeah, okay. Then this is a car that I showed several months back that I had picked up in non-operating condition, but I put it all back together and it runs quite well, but it has several parts missing on it, like the mirrors and the spoiler and all that kind of stuff. And then I ran across this one. This one was being sold as an analog that did not work. Well, the reason that it did not work was because it was a digital car and it won't run on an analog track. And when I took the digital chip out of it and put the analog adapter in it, it runs very nice, and it's a very nice looking little car. And I you know, Scalextric, or not Scalextric, but SCX, you know, has some issues about their chassis and stuff, but they make some beautiful looking cars.
No, they can run real well with a little bit of TLC.
And then I took advantage of a couple of the Black Friday deals, and I picked this one up. And even though my son told me I had too many yellow cars, I bought this one anyway. This is from LEB. It's a Revo slot. And I'm kind of partial to Vipers anyway, ever since I bought all those fly Vipers that don't run worth a shit. But anyway, nice deal that LEB had on these Revo slot cars compared to the normal price. And then the last one that I picked up, I haven't even taken out of the box yet. And LEB still, I think, got a killer deal on some of these Carrera digital cars. For $44, you can't beat that for a digital car.
Yeah.
So
that's a good price.
That's my update on what I bought over the last couple of months. I hope y'all enjoyed it.
All righty. Thanks for showing off.
Cool.
And Mr. Weber, did you want to show off progress, or are you just putting that up because?
My computer's really acting up. I did an update on it, and it's not working very well at all. But I'll go try to go through these pictures and kind of describe them. Yeah, that's with a finish coat of paint and the first coat of clear coat, and I'm using Mission Models. It's acrylic, water-based acrylic, and some of it you can add urethane to, and the clear coat has urethane in it, so it's supposed to be a bit tougher. Let me see here. Let's see if I can get this to load. It's this update on the computer is just awful, man. Okay, so I'm taking to using these plastic spoons to sort of proof the paint before I put it on the body. And this is kind of what I was going for. Let me switch something here. Maybe not. Okay. Put me back up there. Oop. Sorry about that. That's pretty bad. Okay. And switch off.
Can.
Excuse me?
Are you using the airbrush or the rattle can?
Yeah, airbrush. And I had some red paint of that brand I was telling you about, Mission Models, and it's good, but I didn't have the right tone of red, and I didn't want to wait to order it. So I found this brand of paint at the Dollar Tree, $1.25 for 4 ounces, and it's pretty good. It's actually pretty good. And I put some urethane in it, toughens it up some, and it's a really close color, scarlet, to the Ferrari red I was looking for.
Rosso Corsa.
Excuse me? Yeah.
The Rosso Corsa, the racing red.
Right. And also, I found this color. Greg may kind of like that. I'm going to use, I think, on my Yenko Stinger. Also, this is 6 ounces for $1.25. Anyway,
wow.
If you have nothing better to do, give it a try. It's pretty good. Pretty good. Anyway.
Don, what are you thinning that with?
Excuse me?
What are you thinning that with?
I use either Mission Models thinner or who's the other guys? Not Iwata. It's
Mr. Color or
Createx.
Createx, okay.
Yeah. And
the Createx urethane?
No, I have some, but I haven't tried to use it yet. Not on this project. I'll probably try to use it on this. I haven't sealed this Porsche GT1 Evo, 98 Evo yet. So I'm probably going to try that. We'll see. Well, try it on that, but we'll see. It's pretty.
What urethane were you using?
It's Mission Models own urethane, and it requires they're using their special thinner reducer.
Gotcha. All right, thank you for sharing, Mr. Weber. And we got some time left for. Sorry, did you still have something to go? Okay.
Hey, Greg, real quick, I just wanted to say I put a link to that monogram chassis in the chat. If somebody would test that, make sure it goes, and if you want to add that to the notes, so it's out there.
Yep. The one thing with Tinkercad sharing is that you have to have a Tinkercad account, but they're free, so you can just sign up and download the file. But yeah, the link worked just for me. The link worked for me just now. I'll download it and check out the files and stuff in a bit.
If you want to add that to your printables page, I would not have a problem with that either. If that makes it more accessible to people, I would not have an issue.
Or you could make a printables page.
Yeah, that takes effort on my part.
Okay, well, if somebody asks me to, then I will. Otherwise, I'll put a link to the Tinkercad in the description and people can go grab that. But we've got a few minutes left for Club Corner or Open Floor. So if you have club that you want to talk about, raise your hand. We'll try to squeeze it in. Got 20 minutes. Go ahead, Jim.
We had a weekly race or a monthly race at Silicon City Speedway last week. And we had 4 classes. We combined Scale Electrics and Carrera GT3, which I don't think is a good idea, but it seemed to work out pretty good. Or it has seemed to work out pretty good. We've had both brands win. So my opinion obviously was incorrect. Classic Le Mans is pretty much 60 to 80. Any car that ran at Le Mans, open or closed cockpit. I'm trying to fight the Porsche 908, which is dominant there with my P68 in the classic British lime racing green livery. And we ran Group 5 as well as Can-Am. We had a new guy. Dennis, you may know this guy. Ian said he's bringing a new guy, so he brought Todd Olery, who's one of the fast guys down Electric Dreams. So we welcomed him, and
these days he's the fast guy.
He's the fast guy, but not at Silicon City Speedway. But in Todd's defense, if he ends up watching this, he just showed up. Ian brought him because he happened to be in the area, which we love to see him there. Borrowed cars, borrowed controllers, everything else. So he was at a disadvantage, plus learning a new track. So he would be very fast there, given the chance, I'm sure. This is that Scale Electrics Carrera GT3 class, and I did not take a podium picture, but that was the podium as they finished on the track. Wow. This is not digital. There's 2 cars in one lane because we put the cars that weren't in the last heat back to where they finished the race. So first place, second place, third place was about 3 feet apart at the end of the race. There's the classic Le Mans. Go ahead.
Sorry, do you find that the Carrera cars are at a disadvantage over the Scale Electric car?
They don't seem to be. I think they would be or should be, but they haven't seemed to be. We are going to change this next year because there have been some cars that may be a little bit faster just because of a motor or whatever. So we're changing the Scale Electrics Trans Am as well as this class. It's going to be spec Predator 18K motors all around. You see there's bunch of 908s, and I ran my P68. There's a couple others. The P68 is short. It squirts from corner to corner, but the 908's it's a little bit better, but I kept up with them. So I was right in the hunt until I had controller issues all day, which I'm not going to go into, but so I had some issues. Herman came through with a win on this one. Mike came through in 3rd place with Scale Electrics, a slotted Matra. So there are a lot of competitive cars in this class, but the 908 seems to be the best, in my opinion. Group 5 was the next class. So that's all over the board and different brands. They're all racer sideways, but different brands and so forth. It's not dominated. It's dominated in numbers by the BMW M1, but not necessarily in winning. So the BMWs have won, Capris have won, and just about all the cars seem to be relatively competitive on that track. Can-Am, I finally got my control. What happened? My controller, the brake post got unthreaded, so I was getting intermittent brakes all day. Got it fixed for the Can-Am race, so I did a little bit better. So you see, Ian's car is that one right next to mine in the middle. Mine is that the McLaren M6 Thunderslot. Ian's is the one to the right of that with a custom paint. So we've got a pretty good variety of cars in the Can-Am class. You can take your 908 and run it in Can-Am. Although in Can-Am, you could put up to a 25K motor. In the classic Le Mans, it's required you keep the stock motor in gearing. So these are a little bit faster just because of the extra stuff you can do to it. So came out on top in the last race of the day. And we only had 9 racers, including Todd, but we had a great time. It was Thanksgiving weekend, so I'm sure that played a part into it. There was an HO race in Sacramento that quite a few of the 32nd scale drivers go to, so that cut down on the attendance a little bit too. So all in all, we had a great day. That's it for me in terms of the race. We are changing a few rules around, nothing major. I think it'll be for the better. And our primary commercial track, Motown Raceway, was sold. So I'm meeting with a new owner actually tomorrow, and he is all in favor of growing the 30-second scale class. How we do that, we're not sure yet, but I'm meeting with him tomorrow. And so hopefully I'm sure we'll have a productive meeting and get that going and continue into 2024 with some great racing in 30-second scale.
Good stuff. Good to hear that that's continuing, even though the original site is having to shut down.
Yeah, and I lost my cursor. I don't know why I do this all the time, but I've lost my cursor.
That's okay. All right.
So yeah, so that's kind of it for racing in 2024 or 2023. We've got one more race scheduled, and then we'll go into 2024.
All right. Thanks, Jim. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah. Well, we had a disastrous Monday. The first race we ran was Polycar Modern 2021 Formula Ones, and was a really good race, actually. We had a few of the faults that we generally have here and there, but nothing, outrageous, maybe 3 or 4 of them during the 125 laps. And I snatched defeat from the jaws of victory by getting about not like 2 laps worth of fuel less than I needed, and had to stop for fuel and lost the race by about a quarter of a lap. So that was irritating for me. And then the next race we went to DTM's, and it was just everything screwed up. And it ended up that my power base blew one of the places where the controller inserts out and is unfixable. So it's off to the Friday. I'm off to Tacoma to get a new power base, and we'll see what happens. Hopefully that will cure it, because this power base has always been fussy. It's easily shorted, on just a car will fly off, just brush it, and it'll short the fuse out and run the power base shorted. So we'll see what happens with that. Hopefully it'll be correctable and we can finally get rid of that problem for good. And it seems to be whenever we have a larger power draw, so it never happens with 2 cars. And it always happens with 3. And if we put 2 ghost cars and we got 5 cars on, it will happen for sure during that period of time. And the more cars you put on, the worse it got. We pulled the ghost cars off after we had all the trouble. And then post that is when the power base screwed up, and then we couldn't actually finish the race. So that was really annoying. So we'll see what happens. I've at least got a second power base. It's got 2 ports that are bad on that, 2 of the controller ports, but the dead ports will run ghost cars. So, it works that way. So it's interesting.
Switch to the ports that work.
I really wish there were a place to get these repaired. I wish
you can send them to Rico over in the UK. In fact, I keep meaning to send him my partially dead power bases so that he can then steal parts from them to repair.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea. Yeah,
because he's got the tool that makes it possible. But it's for whatever reason, the controller ports, it's not a common problem, but it's a problem with those power bases. Eventually, you're going to lose controller ports.
Yeah, I thought originally that the two ports going out with my first one was for using SCP controllers, or slotted controllers with power applied to controller. I thought that's what was causing it, but this one went out without ever using a slotted controller in it. So
yeah, the prevailing wisdom of the time had been powered controllers, true speed wireless or slotted SCP. But you are yet another example. I had one in my base go out without ever using slotted. I had one of the other guys in the digital club had controllers go out without ever using a powered controller. I wish that rumor would stop, because it's not. It's just that was purely coincidental at this point.
Yeah.
They just They just die eventually. But yeah, hopefully the base fixes all the problems and not just the controller port problems.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Yeah, because it, not being able to, and we had tried it once, a couple months ago. We tried it with 6 cars, and it would do that same type of thing. It would kick it out. And what happens is that the cars lose control completely. And then we have to shut the power off because they're let go at full throttle all the time, and somebody will fly off. Well, I can't say that specifically. Some of the cars will go full throttle, others will dead stop, and it's random as to which one will do it. So, who knows? The wonders of electronics. But I tried to check the port itself. I took the thing apart and tried to check it. And, nothing I can do.
There are no wonders in electronics.
Wizard. What's that?
Electronics is black art from beginning to end.
Yeah.
If you can't see it move, it doesn't exist.
No. We did it that way, so we had a career. We learned from Bill Gates. You do it good enough, and then sell it to them over and over again. And let you guys do all the debugging. That's too complicated.
All right,
well,
thanks,
it's
Mike.
Sad because I really love the use of it, and with RCS 64, it's a wonderful thing.
Yeah,
it really is.
Yeah,
it's like real racing in so many ways. And I hope that Oxygen can replicate it on some levels within the few years before I die, anyway. So that I can get some use out of it to fix their issues. Come on, please.
Yep. All right, let's see if we can get some more Club Corner in there. Luff's got a hand up. What would you like to talk about, Luff?
I had a open house for the local vintage car club.
Yeah, get some pictures.
Oh, cool.
I had 14 guys show up.
Nice.
And they all had fun.
Yeah.
But they're asking they want a model of their actual cars to turn into slot cars. So, I mean, a few of them are available in model kits, but a lot of them are going to need to be 3D printed.
Yeah.
And I'm probably going to send Greg an email about where to go for custom.
Yeah, don't bother sending me an email until you already do the searching, because I can't design a car. So you're gonna need to find a 3D model out there already. Thingiverse, Colt 3D, Fangs.com. I'll tell you what, you send me an email, and I'll send you an email back with a bunch of links that you can go to send to the other guys and say, hey, if you want your car and there's not a model, look for a 3D printable model. And then if you find it, then we can find somebody to print it.
Yeah, it should be okay. A lot of those guys have more than one car.
Well, that will help if their options are they have more than one option.
Yeah, we're just trying to get them hooked.
Yeah, being able to drive their own car around.
Better you than me, Greg.
I mean, I still know a guy who I forgot what car he was looking for, and it's not Mike. Mike was looking for his old car, but somebody else was looking for their car from when they were young men to 3D print, and it just doesn't exist.
One guy wants an AMC Matador.
Oh boy.
No, those were not made in one. Well, actually, wait a minute. The Matador was kind of made in the one, for the super scale, right? The Cox super scale, but it's not full 1/32 scale.
Yeah, I can carve it out of a piece of soap.
There you go. And then send it to John to shell and then do a resin, mold.
Oh, thanks a lot.
Well, that's great that you had 14 people come over to play on your slot car track, and they're interested, that you've wet their whistle, and they're wanting to pursue things.
Well, that's the first time any of them have been on a slot car track. So.
Well, not just a slot car track, but a properly built routed wood track.
Yeah,
that's the car club I'm in. There's 90 members in town here, and I'm trying to get some of those going.
I mean, 14 is still a pretty good turnout for anyone to come play with slot cars. But that means, if they get into it, then they'll talk to the other club members, and they'll bring more will follow. So that's super cool.
I'll get there.
All right, good stuff. Good stuff, Luff. Go ahead, Dennis.
I just got a couple of things from last night. First off, don't know, can you see this? Oh, no, hang on, I've probably done that wrong. Share screen. Try that. This was last night's Racing at Electric Dreams. We were running their LMP class, which allows open motors up to 25K, all in LMP cars, open tires and weight and all kinds of things. So it's really a pretty hefty modified class. Todd Ullery won that and laid down a 5.1 second lap as a new track record on Yellow Lane, which was really going. His car, he was running a
5.1, Dennis?
5.1. Now, these guys found a motor which is made by a company called B52, and so it's a long can motor. Well, it's actually it's an FK 130, like the Eagles and things like that, and it's 25 Eagles and Hawks. It's 25K, but it has solid neo magnets in it. So, you're getting downforce. They're getting significant downforce. So he had one in his Scale Auto 963 that he was running. Mike McClanahan had one in his Audi R8. Bob Hooley was running the same car that Walter Baines was running. We were 10, so we split into two classes of two. That was not one of them, I think. And then Brandon was running a car that he borrowed from Todd, and that also had one of those motors. And then there's a couple of photos. Did that come up properly?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
That's this was an NSR Audi R18, the orange one in front there. My car in the back, which was a slotted LMP with a flat 6R or RS motor, which was about a second a lap slower. And from next year, we're probably going to split the class into LMP1 and LMP2, and let the LMP1 guys run with that fancy motor with all the downforce, and then let the rest of us run against each other in an LMP2 class with more regular motors. Again, these are all photos from Carlos, who does a really nice job of them. Brandon here, Todd there, Adrian, a new driver, Dave, a new driver, Mike McClanahan, Walter Baines, myself around the track. Same thing again, Bob Hooley in the distance, and a little closer. And the plastic track, the polycard track, is almost complete now. All of the sidings are up. You could see all the yellow and black trim. It's starting to look really smart. And just a couple more shots. This was the second group the first group that we ran in. I don't know that there's another one. I think that's all for now. So that brings us exactly to 6, Greg. So there you go. We had a 32nd scale race at Buena Park on last Sunday for GT3s and for Formula Ones, which was a little bittersweet because this week it's been announced that Buena Park Raceway is closing on the 15th of December for good. And so we don't know yet what's going to happen to the tracks. The Big King track, there's talk that it may go to somebody in Las Vegas. the little Kingelman that's at the back of the store. Some guys wanting that. The flat track at the front of the store, nobody knows yet what's going to happen to that. We're trying to see whether we can find somewhere to store it, if we can get the guy to give us a decent price on it. But yeah, it's kind of sad because that business has been going since I think about 1994 in that building, and this is the end now.
All things come to an end.
Yeah, 3 different sets of owners over that time too. Each one is unfortunately a little less competent than the previous one.
And on that sad note, we're going to end the stream until next week. Everybody wave bye.
See you guys.
Bye.
Good one. Thanks, Duan. I love